If you're wondering why walking seems so much more complicated than it should be, don't worry, you're not alone. This video is going to help. All right, so you never thought you were going to have to learn or relearn how to walk after, let's say, age 4. But you find yourself here clicking on this video so you can learn some techniques for how to walk better. So don't feel bad if you've clicked on this video. It means you're probably smarter than your average person, because almost no one learns how to walk effectively. It doesn't mean that most of us can't get from point A to point B on our 2 feet. We can generally do that just based on the virtue of being human. But doing it with optimal alignment of our spine and lower impact on our joints is something that shouldn't be taken for granted. It needs to be learned. There are many reasons why people's walking technique can suffer. Sometimes it's just poor movement pattern habits, but other times there can be issues like an injury, recovering from surgery, or neurologic problems like multiple sclerosis or even a stroke that can affect the way we walk. And in those instances, sometimes there are specific problems with muscles that make it difficult to get back to that proper walking technique, if we ever had proper walking technique to begin with. So in my videos, I help you work on those movement patterns. And in this specific video, I want to help you learn some of the key exercises that you can use to strengthen those muscles that are important for good walking technique. If you're new to the channel, I'm Dr. Todd Martin, creator of the Walking Code. I'm going to go over these exercises with you today, and I'm also going to explain why each one of these muscles is important in walking and when and where we're using them during the gait cycle. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to start from the bottom up, showing you an exercise to strengthen the anterior tibialis muscle, which is in the shin. The anterior tibialis muscle helps to dorsiflex the ankle, like this. That's a key movement that we need to use as we're lowering the forefoot and then moving our body over the standing foot. So let's give an exercise that is really helpful for strengthening the anterior tibialis, and that's going to be toe raises. We're going to use a wall, or in this case, I'm using a lamp post, and we're going to lean against the wall with a flat back and keep the hips out away from the wall, feet away from the wall. And what we're going to do is raise our toes and our foot up as far as we can, and then we're going to slowly drop it down. And we're going to repeat this 15 to 20 times. When we raise it up, we're doing concentric exercise, shortening that anterior tibialis, and then when we slowly lower it, we're doing an eccentric exercise, lengthening the muscle as it lowers against gravity. So repeat this 15 to 20 times. Another great exercise to strengthen the anterior tibialis muscle is heel walking. So in heel walking, we're going to, just like it says, raise the forefoot up, so we're only having our heels on the ground, and we're going to walk on our heels. And the goal is to heel walk for about 15 to 20 feet, and then repeat that 3 or 4 times. The anterior tibialis muscle is really critical for normal walking technique because it allows us to lower our forefoot in a controlled fashion after we place our heel. If we have weakness in the anterior tibialis, what we're going to get is a foot slap, because we cannot control the rapid lowering of the forefoot due to gravity. And so when we place our heel down, the foot is going to slap very hard, and it's also going to prevent us from being able to elevate the foot, dorsiflexing it as we get to single leg stance. Let's say on my left leg, my right ankle needs to be able to dorsiflex to clear the ground. And so if we don't have that anterior tibialis muscle function, that foot is not only going to slap when it hits the ground, it's also going to drag when we try to clear that leg forward, and that's going to make us more likely to trip. And so people who have anterior tibialis dysfunction or weakness often need to circumduct their leg around that way to prevent that tripping action. And most people who have a really severe dysfunction generally need to wear a device called an AFO, or ankle foot orthotic, to help brace that ankle in dorsiflexion so it's able to clear the ground. The next muscle we're going to work on is the calf muscle, right here in the back of the lower leg. So our calf muscle is going to plantar flex the ankle, and it's the opposing muscle to the anterior tibialis that we just worked on, which dorsiflexed the ankle. The calf muscle plantar flexion is essential in two specific portions of our gait. I already mentioned that after we connect with the heel, we're using the anterior tibialis muscle to eccentrically slow down the lowering of the forefoot. When we begin the swing through, going into single leg stance, our calf muscle is going to begin working eccentrically, slowing down the dorsiflexion of the ankle as gravity helps pull us over that ankle. And then we get to the push-off phase of gait, which is that terminal stance portion where the heel of the standing leg is going to come up as the forward heel comes down. This is what some people would refer to as the push-off, and this is where we need that good, strong, concentric contraction of our calf muscle, which plantar flexes the ankle and raises the heel off the ground before we shift onto the forward leg. So that needs good calf strength. And an exercise that we're going to do to help strengthen the calf muscles is a calf raise. So we're going to stand with our feet shoulder width apart, and what we're going to do is rise up on our toes as high as you can. You can balance on a wall if you need that for stability, and then slowly lower yourself back down. From the side view, we're rising up and then slowly bringing ourselves down. And as we did with our anterior tibialis muscle, we're going to do that about 15 to 20 times and repeat that for 3 sets. The next muscles we're going to work on are our glutes and our hamstrings, as well as our lower abs. And we're going to do this utilizing a glute bridge. So this is going to help strengthen that glute muscle in the back of your butt, and it's also going to help you coordinate the glute muscle with your lower abdominal muscles and your hamstrings. We're going to begin by peeling the hips up off the ground, and we can think of going vertebrae by vertebrae, lifting up off the ground as we're using our glutes, and we're also using the lower abdominal muscles to keep the pelvis tucked. That's going to be a very important part of our normal walking technique. And we push up until we get this position where our body is in a straight line between the shoulder blades and the knees. And then we're going to slowly lower back down, and we can lower back down in the reverse method as we peeled off the ground, slowly lowering down until our pelvis is now on the ground. And we're going to repeat this exercise 10 to 15 times. Keep the feet flat on the ground. Don't let them bow out this way or buckle in this way. Same for the knees. Keep your knees facing straight up in this position. And we're going to peel up off the ground and then push the hips and pelvis up into this position. Now we're strengthening the glute, which is extending the hip, but we're also using our lower abs, which help tuck the pelvis. If I only use my glute and I disengage my lower abs, I'm going to end up in this sagging position. So I need to get the lower abs working as well to bring my whole body in line. Another great exercise for the glutes is doing step-ups. And step-ups can be done with a stair or a box. And this is really going to concentrate our glutes and strengthen them. It's going to be especially helpful if you're walking stairs or walking hills where we need a lot more glute strength than we do on level ground. I'm going to show the step up doing two different heights of step. So I'm going to do one lower height here, and then I'm going to come down and do a higher height of step up here. Obviously, you're going to need more strength the higher the step is. What we're going to do is place one foot on the step facing forward. And if we're really going to try to focus on the glutes, what we're going to do is hinge the body forward before we go up. But I'm going to show you something that is a different technique that we really need to use if we're walking upstairs, because we don't want to be hinged forward like this when we're walking upstairs. But it is proper for the step up exercise where we're focusing solely on our glutes. So we're going to begin hinging the hip and bring the body weight forward over that leg, and then we're going to push up from the glute here, and then we're going to lower down in a controlled fashion using the same glute. So concentric contraction of the glute going up and eccentric contraction of the glute going down. We can do that with a higher box here. This is probably much higher than you need to strengthen your hips for normal walking technique, but we're going to get our feet in the right position. We're going to lean forward, and then we're going to use the glute to push ourselves up, and then use the glute to lower ourselves down. When we're walking upstairs, which is more of this height here, we don't need to lean forward to push up with the glute. That's not good normal posture for walking. When we're walking upstairs, what we want to do is place the flat of the foot and then shift forward and up with vertical posture using the glute of the rear leg until we get to this position, using our lower abs to keep the pelvis in a neutral position on the forward leg. And only after we get to this position where my center of gravity is correct with vertical posture, now I use the glute on the standing leg to push straight up with vertical posture before stepping forward. When we're walking on level ground, our glutes are going to be required as we place the forward heel. Our glutes help keep our hips in an extended position so the pelvis remains level as we're transitioning to the flat of the foot. From the side view, our glutes on the left side activate right as we're hitting the heel and as we're lowering the forefoot down. And so that's where the glutes are contracting, preventing the hip from flexing or collapsing as we begin to shift our weight over the foot. Now we're going to move our strengthening exercises up the body further using a plank. And so this is going to strengthen our abdominal muscles and our back muscles, as well as strengthening our hip flexors, which are going to coordinate with our abdominal muscles to keep a flat plank position. We're going to begin doing a plank on our elbows, placing our elbows about shoulder width apart, our feet shoulder width apart, with the balls of the feet on the ground. And then we're going to engage our abdominal core muscles and our hip muscles to bring ourselves up into a plank position. We're going to want to try to hold this plank position for 30 to 60 seconds. As you're holding the plank, you want to try to make sure your body is in a straight line from your shoulders down to your heels. Don't let your butt pop up and don't let your butt sag. If you find that your butt is popping up, it means you're probably not engaging your lower abdominal muscles to tuck that pelvis under. This can be a common problem for people who have an anterior pelvic tilt. So when we get in this proper position, now we have our lower abs and our hip flexors engaged. Also, try to not let your body sag like this. We need to get it up in that straight line. Depending on how strong your core is, you may want to do a plank using a bench or a chair. So this is going to be a little less strenuous than doing it flat on the ground. We still want to keep that straight position between our shoulders and our heel. If we want to do a slightly more difficult version of the plank that's more dynamic, we can also transition from our elbows up to our hands and back down. The lower abs are critical for proper walking technique, and they're often ignored. The lower abs are keeping the pelvis in our neutral position, avoiding that anterior pelvic tilt that a lot of people have when they stand or when they walk. If I stand with my forward leg in this position, if I have my lower abs engaged, I have this good steady position. If I disengage the lower abs, I'm now leaned over and I have to rely on my glutes to then push my shoulders back, but I now have an exaggerated arch in the lower back because I have all glute action and no lower ab action. I need to disengage that glute from pushing and instead use the lower abs to tuck. That is the proper position. So there we have it. We've strengthened our muscles from the bottom up, from our anterior tibialis muscle and our calf muscle in the lower leg, our quads and hamstrings in the upper leg, and our glutes in our butt, as well as our hip flexors. And we have also strengthened our abdominal and back core muscles, which are crucial for normal walking technique with good posture. We have to coordinate all of these muscles together as we walk to keep proper spinal alignment and minimal impact on our joints. That's going to allow your joints to stay healthy for a long lifetime. If you got value from this video, make sure to click the like button and subscribe to the channel. And you can also support the channel by picking up your Walking Code ebook or signing up for the Walking Code online course, all which I will link in the description section. Have a great day.